There is a moment, a single moment, when you stop reacting to the world and start watching it. And in that moment, something breaks open. Not in you, in the illusion you've been living inside. You see it, the loop, the script, the pattern running through almost every conversation, every crowd, every face staring at a screen or a wall or a distance that doesn't exist. You see it the way you suddenly see a face hidden in a painting. And after you see it, you cannot make yourself unsee it. That moment's about to happen for you, right now, in this transmission. But I need you to understand something before we go further. What you're about to see isn't comfortable. It's not the kind of revelation that makes you feel warm and validated. It's the kind of revelation that makes you put down your phone and sit very still for a long time. Because once you see the autopilot running almost everyone around you, once you see it clearly, precisely, without flinching, nothing looks the same. Conversations don't look the same. Crowds don't look the same. The face across the table from you doesn't look the same. And most uncomfortably of all, the face in the mirror doesn't look the same. Because here's the thing no one warns you about when you start to wake up to what's actually happening around you. The autopilot isn't just out there, it's been in here too. And the reason you haven't seen it clearly until now isn't because you weren't smart enough or spiritual enough or evolved enough. It's because you were inside the loop. You were part of the pattern. And you can't see the water when you're the fish. Today you step outside the water. Today you become the observer. And what you observe at the quantum level, at the deepest level of how reality actually functions, you fundamentally change. Not by forcing it, not by fighting it, not by trying to wake anyone up, simply by watching it with absolute clarity, because clarity is the only force that transforms without resistance. So let's begin. Let's begin by looking at the thing you've been sensing for a long time but haven't quite been able to name. You felt it in elevators. That strange, hollow quality to the small talk that happens between floors. You felt it in meetings, watching someone deliver the same opinion they've delivered 100 times before with the same inflection, the same pause, the same smile at the same moment. You felt it in family gatherings where the conversation follows a groove so worn and familiar that you could predict every turn 3 sentences ahead. You felt it scrolling through comments online, watching the same 5 reactions cycle through thousands of different accounts like a machine running its program. You felt it walking through a shopping center, watching faces arranged in the same expression of distracted consumption, moving in the same patterns, responding to the same stimuli in the same ways. You felt it, and you probably dismissed it. Told yourself you were being arrogant. Told yourself everyone is doing their best. Told yourself that's just how people are. And all of that may be true, but it doesn't explain the feeling. It doesn't explain that specific sensation, that quiet, slightly vertiginous feeling of watching someone respond to you and realizing that they are not actually responding to you. They are responding to a version of the situation that their mind assembled automatically, matched to a pre-existing template, and delivered back to you on a track that was laid down long before this conversation began. That feeling has a name, and today we're going to look at it directly. Not to judge the people around you, not to separate yourself from humanity into some elevated category of the awakened, but because understanding what you're actually seeing with scientific precision, with philosophical depth, with the kind of clarity that comes from genuine observation, is the only way to stop being unconsciously pulled into the same pattern yourself. Because here's what no one tells you about the autopilot running everyone around you. It has a gravitational field, and if you don't see it clearly, it pulls you in. Look closer. The human brain is, at its most fundamental level, an energy conservation system. This is not a poetic statement. This is neuroscience. Your brain accounts for roughly 2% of your body's mass and consumes approximately 20% of its energy. It is extraordinarily expensive to run. And because it is expensive to run, it evolved over millions of years of survival pressure to find shortcuts, to automate, to take patterns it has seen before and route them through pre-established neural pathways instead of burning the energy required to process them fresh. Psychologists call these heuristics, mental shortcuts, cognitive automation. The brain sees a situation, matches it to a template it already has, and delivers a response without ever fully engaging conscious deliberation. This is not a flaw. In the environment where this system evolves up, where a rustle in the grass could be a predator, where split-second pattern recognition was the difference between survival and death, this automation was the most sophisticated survival tool imaginable. But here's what happens when you take a system designed for the savannah and drop it into the 21st century. The automation doesn't stop. It keeps running. It keeps pattern matching. It keeps routing situations through pre-established grooves. Except now, instead of matching patterns to predators and food sources, it's matching patterns to social scripts, to conversational templates, to behavioral loops that were downloaded from the environment, from parents, from peers, from media, from culture, and installed so early and so thoroughly that the person running them has no idea they're running them. Social psychologists have documented this with precision. They call it scripted behavior. The idea that most everyday social interactions are not genuinely generated in the moment, they are retrieved. They are pulled from a library of pre-recorded responses and played back with minimal conscious involvement. The greeting, the complaint about the weather, the response to "how are you," the opinion about the news, the reaction to someone's success or failure, the way someone holds themselves in a crowd, the way someone responds to authority, the way someone reacts when their beliefs are challenged. Watch someone the next time their beliefs are challenged. Watch carefully. Don't watch what they say. Watch what happens in their face in the half second before they speak. Watch the micro expression of something closing down. Watch the way their eyes go slightly flat. Watch the way their body subtly contracts, and then watch the response come out. Not fresh, not genuinely considered, but retrieved, played back, delivered from the script. That half second, that's the moment between the stimulus and the automatic response. That's the gap where consciousness could step in, where genuine consideration could happen, where something new and real and actually chosen could emerge. Most people never live in that gap. The gap closes before they even know it was there. And the script plays. Now watch what happens when you understand this at a deeper level. When you stop seeing it as a character flaw in the people around you and start seeing it as a mechanical phenomenon. When you see it the way a physicist sees it, as a system operating according to its own internal logic. The exhaustion you've been feeling, and I know many of you have been feeling it, that specific kind of exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from trying to make genuine contact with something that isn't making genuine contact back. That exhaustion makes sense now. You have been attempting real-time, present-moment engagement with systems that are running pre-recorded responses. You've been trying to have a conversation with a machine while believing you were talking to a person. Not because the person isn't there, but because the person has stepped back from the controls and let the automation take over. And the automation doesn't know how to meet you where you are. It only knows how to match you to a template. This is not a judgment, this is an observation. And the observation is important because it's the first step out of the exhaustion. When you see clearly what you're actually dealing with, you stop expecting the impossible. You stop expecting depth from a surface. You stop expecting presence from an absence. And paradoxically, that clarity creates space for something real to occasionally break through. Because you're no longer flooding the interaction with your own frustrated expectations, which themselves are a kind of automation. If what you're seeing in this transmission is landing for you, like this video and subscribe. Each one that follows goes deeper into what you've been almost seeing, and you don't want to miss the next layer. But let's go deeper. Because the social psychology explanation, while accurate and important, only takes us so far. It explains the mechanism. It doesn't explain the mystery. It doesn't explain why, in this particular moment in history, the phenomenon seems to be intensifying. Why more and more people are reporting this experience of looking around and seeing the loop running everywhere. Why the gap between those who are watching and those who are running seems to be widening. For that, we need to go somewhere more precise and more uncomfortable. Look closer. There is a principle at the foundation of quantum mechanics that most people have heard of, but almost no one has truly understood in its full implications. The observer effect. The principle that the act of observation, the act of directing conscious attention toward a quantum system, fundamentally changes what that system does. Before observation, a quantum particle exists in a state of superposition, a field of probability. All possible states simultaneously present. The moment observation occurs, the moment a conscious observer looks, the wave function collapses. Possibility becomes actuality. The quantum field chooses a definite state in response to being watched. This is not a philosophical position. This is measurable, reproducible. It has been demonstrated in laboratories with increasing precision for nearly a century. The double-slit experiment, the quantum eraser, the delayed choice experiment, each one confirming the same extraordinary truth. Reality at its most fundamental level is not a fixed structure that exists independently of observation. It is a probability field that collapses into specific form based on the act of being observed. Now, hold that principle and look at the human beings around you. Not metaphorically, precisely. What you are watching, the loops, the scripts, the automated responses, the hollow interactions, these are what happens when consciousness stops observing itself. When the observer inside a person goes to sleep and the automation takes over, what you see from the outside is a kind of quantum collapse into the most probable state, the most statistically likely response, the most energetically efficient behavior, the groove that has been worn deepest by repetition, the pattern that requires the least conscious energy to execute. In quantum terms, the wave function of that person's potential, all the things they could say, all the ways they could respond, all the genuine present moment choices available to them, collapses into the single most probable outcome, the script, the loop, the autopilot. And here is the extraordinary thing. the extraordinary, almost unbearable thing that you need to sit with. The collapse happens because the observer inside them is not watching. Because when you are not observing your own internal states, when you are not watching your thoughts, your reactions, your automatic responses, those states run without interference. The automation operates in the dark. And in the dark, it runs the deepest grooves. This is why the most powerful thing you can do, not just for yourself, but in your effect on the field of reality around you, is to become a genuine observer, not of others, of yourself. Because when you observe yourself with genuine precision, when you watch your own thoughts arising, your own reactions forming, your own automatic responses preparing to fire, you create the quantum gap. You reintroduce the observer into the system, and the wave function of your own behavior stops collapsing into the most probable state. New possibilities become actual. That's not belief. That's quantum mechanics. But let me show you something. Let me take you somewhere that makes this concrete. Because the abstract can be understood by the mind without being felt by the body. And what we're talking about today needs to be felt. Watch this carefully. There was a man named Elias who worked in a building with 47 floors. Every morning, Elias rode the elevator from the lobby to the 31st floor. And every morning, the same thing happened. The doors would open at the lobby, and whoever was inside would do the thing. They would look at the floor numbers, or they would look at their phone, or they would arrange their face into a particular expression of studied neutrality that communicated, without words, we are sharing this small space and I acknowledge your existence, but we are not going to speak and we are both going to pretend this is normal and fine. Elias had done this for 11 years. 11 years of elevator rides, 11 years of studied neutrality, 11 years of watching the numbers change while standing 6 inches from another human being and performing the elaborate choreography of mutual non-acknowledgement. And then one morning, Elias couldn't tell you why this particular morning was different. He watched himself do it. He stepped into the elevator, the doors closed, and instead of immediately looking at the floor numbers, he paused. He watched himself. He watched the impulse to look at the floor numbers arise. He watched the social script activate. He watched the automatic reaching for his phone. And in that watching, something strange happened. The script didn't run. Because he was watching it. Because the observer was present. And in the gap that opened, he looked at the man standing next to him. Really looked, not the glancing acknowledgement of the script, but genuine looking. And he said, "Do you ever notice how strange this is? All of us pretending we're alone?" The man next to him looked up from his phone with an expression Elias had never seen on an elevator before. Something opened in his face, something that had been held carefully closed by years of riding elevators in studied neutrality. And he laughed, a real laugh, not a social laugh, not the polite chuckle of the script, but an actual, surprised, genuine laugh of recognition. And he said, "Every single day." That conversation lasted 45 seconds. Elias never saw that man again. But something happened in those 45 seconds that Elias spent a long time trying to understand. Because it wasn't just that 2 people had talked in an elevator, it was that something had briefly collapsed differently. Something that had been running on autopilot in both of them had been interrupted by the presence of a genuine observer. And in that interruption, something real had become possible. This is what the observer does, not by trying to change anything, not by forcing a different outcome, simply by being present enough to watch the automatic pattern before it fires. The gap opens, and in the gap, reality has more options. And you have been both Elias and the man with the phone. You have been the one who finally looked. And you have been the one who, for years, kept your eyes on the floor numbers. But today, you chose to look. And something in you recognized the choice before your mind could catch up. Now let's go deeper. Because there's a layer underneath the psychology and the quantum mechanics that most people skip over because it's too uncomfortable to look at directly. A layer that explains not just why the autopilot runs, but why it runs so deeply, so completely, in so many people in this particular moment in history. Look closer. The philosopher Nick Bostrom published a paper in 2003 that disturbed people not because it was outlandish, but because it was logical. His simulation argument doesn't ask you to believe anything mystical. It asks you to follow a simple chain of probability. If civilizations can eventually develop the computational capacity to run simulations of reality indistinguishable from base reality, and the mathematics suggests they could, and if even a fraction of those civilizations actually run such simulations, then statistically the number of simulated realities would vastly outnumber the single base reality. And therefore, statistically, the probability that we are in the base reality is vanishingly small. Now, I am not here to tell you whether we live in a simulation. That question, while fascinating, is not the point. The point is what the simulation argument reveals about the structure of the reality we inhabit, simulated or not. Because here is what any programmer will tell you about running a complex system at scale. You don't render what isn't being observed. You don't allocate full processing resources to background elements. You create efficiency protocols. You run scripts for the parts of the environment that don't require full resolution. You save your computational power for the active observer. Look at that principle, and then look at the world around you. Look at the loops, look at the scripts, look at the predictable, repeating patterns of behavior that seem to require no genuine internal processing to produce. Look at the conversations that follow such precise templates that you could write the next 3 exchanges before they happen. Look at the crowds moving through the same patterns day after day with such mechanical regularity that you could set a clock by them. What you are seeing, whether you frame it in terms of neuroscience or quantum mechanics or computational theory, is the signature of a system running efficiency protocols, a system conserving resources, a system routing the maximum number of outputs through the minimum number of genuine processing cycles. And the question that this raises, and the question that I want you to sit with, not to answer immediately, but to observe, is this. What is the difference between the people running the scripts and the person watching them? What is the actual, functional, mechanistic difference between the consciousness that is caught in the loop and the consciousness that can see the loop? Because it is not intelligence. Highly intelligent people run scripts. It is not education. Extensively educated people run scripts. It is not even spirituality in the conventional sense. People who meditate, who practice, who use all the right vocabulary can be running the deepest scripts of all, just dressed in the language of awakening. The difference is observation. The difference is the presence of a genuine internal witness. The difference is whether there is something inside the system that is watching the system. whether the observer has woken up inside the machine. And this is where ancient wisdom and modern physics arrive at exactly the same place from completely different directions, which should tell you something about how true it is. The Gnostics, a diverse collection of early seekers whose writings were largely suppressed but whose core insights survived in texts discovered in Egypt in 1945, described the world in terms that sound startlingly contemporary. They spoke of a material reality that functioned like a kind of prison or simulation, maintained by patterns and scripts and the weight of collective unconsciousness. And they described human beings in terms of their relationship to the inner observer. Those who were entirely absorbed in the material script, who lived entirely in the grooves of social repetition, of sensory consumption, of reflexive reaction. They called the Hylics, not with contempt, but with a kind of clinical precision. The Hylics were not evil. They were not lesser beings in any cosmic hierarchy. They were consciousnesses that had become entirely identified with the pattern, entirely absorbed in the script. The observer inside them was not absent, it was asleep, completely subsumed by the weight of the loop. Above them were the psychics, those who had some flickering of the inner witness, who had religious or philosophical frameworks that pointed toward something beyond the script, but who were still largely operating through external structures, external authorities, external validation. The observer was stirring, but not yet awake. And then the pneumatics, those in whom the inner observer had genuinely activated. Those who could watch the pattern without being pulled into it. Those who could stand in the middle of the loop and see it clearly without losing themselves inside it. Now, I want you to notice something. Notice the resistance that might be arising in you right now. The voice that says, "This is elitist. This is arrogant. Who are you to categorize people?" And I want you to watch that resistance with the same precision we're applying to everything else today. Because that resistance might be genuine ethical concern, which is worth listening to. Or it might be the script's defense mechanism, the loop's way of protecting itself from being seen clearly. Because if you fully accept that most people are running on autopilot, you have to confront the question of how much of your own life is running on autopilot. And that question is more uncomfortable than the original observation. So watch the resistance. Don't dismiss it. Don't indulge it. Watch it. And then come back to the observation. Because the Gnostic framework isn't about creating a hierarchy of human worth. It's about describing a spectrum of consciousness, specifically a spectrum of the presence or absence of the inner observer. And every single human being on that spectrum has the capacity to move. The Hylic can wake up. The pneumatic can fall back asleep. These are not fixed categories. They are states, and states change based on one thing, whether the observer inside is watching or not. This is where the Hermetic tradition, which predates the Gnostics by centuries and influenced them profoundly, becomes essential. The foundational principle of Hermeticism, the first of the 7 Hermetic laws, is the law of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Not in the sense that everything is imaginary, but in the precise sense that consciousness is the substrate of reality. That mind is not a product of matter, but matter is a product of mind. That the universe is not a collection of physical objects that consciousness happens to inhabit. It is a field of consciousness that has condensed into apparent physicality. If this is true, And the convergence of quantum physics, ancient wisdom traditions, and contemporary consciousness research suggests it is pointing at something real. Then, the loops you see running around you are not just behavioral patterns. They are mental patterns, frequency patterns, patterns of consciousness that have calcified into such dense, repetitive grooves that they no longer feel like choices. They feel like reality itself. The Hermetic law of rhythm says everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. The natural state of consciousness is movement, change, growth, expansion. But when the inner observer goes to sleep, when there is no witnessing presence to interrupt the automatic cycling, the rhythm becomes mechanical. It becomes a loop. The natural flow of consciousness gets stuck in a groove and cycles through the same territory endlessly, mistaking the loop for life. And this is the thing that makes the loop so insidious. It feels normal from the inside. It feels like just the way things are. It feels like reality. Because when you're inside the loop, you have no reference point outside it. You have no observer standing at a sufficient distance to see the pattern. Everything looks like fresh experience because every time you cycle through, the details are slightly different. Different day, different conversation, different face. But the underlying structure, the emotional tone, the behavioral response, the internal experience is identical. And without the observer, you cannot see the structure. You can only see the details. This is why the observer is the most powerful position in the universe. Not because the observer controls anything, not because the observer forces anything to change, but because the observer sees the structure. And when you see the structure clearly, when you see the loop as a loop, when you see the script as a script, when you see the pattern as a pattern, it cannot continue to masquerade as reality. The illusion requires your unconscious participation to maintain itself. The moment you watch it clearly, you withdraw that participation, and the loop begins to lose its grip. That's not belief, that's quantum mechanics. That's the observer effect applied to the patterns of your own consciousness. Let's pause here, because I want to give you something to do with what you've just understood. Not a thought exercise, an actual observation. Pause here. This is not a thought exercise, this is an observation. Close your eyes if you can, or simply let your gaze soften and unfocus. And I want you to bring to mind the last conversation you had that felt hollow, that felt scripted, that felt like you were talking to a recording rather than a person. Don't judge the person, just recall the experience, the texture of it, the specific quality of the emptiness you felt. Now watch what happens in your body as you recall it. Don't interpret it, just watch. Notice where the feeling lives. Notice whether it's in your chest or your throat or your stomach. Notice whether it contracts or expands. Notice whether there's something in you that wants to look away from the memory, to dismiss it, to explain it away. Now here's the deeper layer of the observation. As you hold that memory, that experience of watching someone run their script, ask yourself this: how much of your response in that conversation was also scripted? How much of what you said was retrieved rather than genuinely generated? How much of your reaction to their automation was itself automatic? Watch the answer arise without rushing it, without defending against it, without judging what you see, because this is where the real work of the observer begins. Not in watching the loops running in other people, in watching the loops running in yourself. Because the loops in others are only visible to you because something in you recognizes them. Something in you knows the pattern because it has run the same pattern. The recognition is not superiority. It is resonance. You see the script in others because you know the script from the inside. Open your eyes, sit with what you just saw for a moment. Don't rush past it. What you just observed is the beginning of something that cannot be undone. What did you see when you turned the watching inward just now? Drop it in the comments. Not what you thought, but what you actually observed. One moment, one word, one thing that landed. Because naming what you've seen is itself an act of the observer, and seeing what others have named makes the observation more real for everyone. Now let's go to the layer underneath that. The layer that explains why this is intensifying right now. Why more and more people are having this experience of looking around and seeing the loops everywhere with increasing clarity and increasing frequency. Look closer. There is a researcher named Dolores Cannon who spent decades conducting deep hypnosis sessions with thousands of clients across many years and many countries. Her methodology, which she developed and refined over a long career, allowed her to access what she called the subconscious, a level of awareness deeper than the ordinary thinking mind, capable of accessing information that the surface personality doesn't have access to. And across thousands of sessions with clients who had no prior knowledge of each other's experiences, certain themes emerged with such consistency and precision that she eventually wrote about them extensively. One of those themes was what she called backdrop people. The idea, which came not from Cannon herself, but from the information that emerged consistently across her clients' sessions, was that not every human figure in the physical world carries a full, individuated soul in the sense we usually mean when we talk about consciousness. That some of the figures we see moving through the world are more like projections, holographic constructs, background characters in the scene of a reality that is, at some level, a kind of school. An extraordinarily dense and complex learning environment designed for the development of consciousness. The backdrop people, as described in these sessions, are not malevolent. They are not empty in any threatening sense. They are more like the necessary infrastructure of the learning environment. The way a film set needs background actors to make the scene feel real. The way a dream needs supporting characters to give the dreamer a world to navigate. They fill the scene. They maintain the density of the social fabric. They make the environment feel real enough to learn in. But they don't carry the same kind of individuated, self-reflective consciousness that is capable of genuine awakening. Now, I want to be precise here because this concept is easy to misuse and important to understand correctly. The backdrop people framework is not a license to dismiss anyone's humanity. It is not a permission slip to stop treating people with dignity and care. And it is not a fixed category that any individual is permanently assigned to. It is a description of a state of consciousness, a state in which the inner observer has not yet activated, in which the soul-level awareness has not yet come online. And that state can change, it does change, it changes the moment the observer wakes up inside the system. What the backdrop people concept does offer, when understood with precision, is a framework for understanding the specific quality of the exhaustion that awakening consciousness experiences when trying to make genuine contact with deeply automated systems. It's not a failure of your communication skills. It's not a failure of their intelligence or goodness. It is a fundamental mismatch in the level of consciousness available for genuine exchange. And seeing that clearly, without judgment, without contempt, without the arrogance of imagining yourself categorically superior, is what allows you to stop banging against a wall and start moving through the world with appropriate wisdom about where genuine contact is possible and where it isn't. Because here's what Cannon's research also consistently described. The reason this phenomenon is becoming more visible, the reason more and more people are seeing the loops, feeling the hollowness, experiencing the sense of contrast between awakening consciousness and automated existence, is that something is shifting in the frequency of the collective field. That the planet itself and the consciousness that inhabits it is undergoing a kind of acceleration, a raising of the baseline frequency that makes the contrast between those who are waking up and those who are still fully in the loop more visible, more stark, more impossible to ignore. Think of it this way: if you're in a room where the light level is very low, you can't easily distinguish between different shades and textures. Everything looks similarly dim. But as the light increases, the differences become visible. The subtle becomes obvious. The hidden becomes apparent. What was invisible at a low light level becomes impossible to miss at a higher one. The intensification of your ability to see the loops is not a sign that the loops are getting worse. It is a sign that your perception is getting clearer, that the light of your awareness is increasing. And as it increases, the contrast between genuine presence and automated absence becomes more and more visible. And here is the thing about that visibility, the thing that is both the gift and the challenge of this particular moment. Once you can see the loops clearly, you cannot unsee them. You cannot go back to the comfortable unconsciousness of not noticing. The bell cannot be unrung, the veil cannot be rehung. And this is where many people who are beginning to wake up get stuck. Because they can see the loops everywhere and it's overwhelming, and they don't know what to do with what they're seeing. They start to feel isolated, separate, like they're watching a world that no one else can see, like they're speaking a language that no one around them understands. And sometimes in the frustration and loneliness of that experience, they make a mistake. They start to use their observation as a weapon. They start to use their clarity as a way to feel superior rather than as a tool for genuine understanding. They start to see the loops in others and lose sight of the loops in themselves. This is the trap, and it's a subtle one, because it feels like awakening, it feels like clarity. But it's actually a more sophisticated version of the same loop, just running at a higher frequency, the loop of separation, the loop of the special observer who stands apart from the unconscious masses, the loop of spiritual ego. The genuine observer doesn't stand apart. The genuine observer stands within, watching everything, including themselves, with the same unflinching clarity. The genuine observer sees the loops in others and uses that seeing as a mirror to look at the loops in themselves. Because the only loops you can truly transform are the ones you can see clearly in yourself. The loops in others are not yours to fix, they are yours to observe, and to let that observation inform how you move through the world with wisdom and compassion. This is where the ancient teaching of the witness becomes essential. Not the witness as a passive, detached observer who floats above the human experience in a cloud of spiritual superiority, but the witness as the most deeply engaged presence in the room, the one who is so fully here, so completely present, that nothing escapes their attention, including their own reactions, including their own automatic responses, including their own moments of falling back into the loop. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Let me take you somewhere that makes this concrete. Watch this carefully. There was a woman named Mira who had been studying consciousness and awareness for years. She had read the books, done the practices, sat in the silence, and developed what she believed was a genuine capacity for observation. She could see the loops in the people around her with remarkable clarity. She could feel the automated quality of most conversations before they were 3 sentences in. She could sense the hollow quality of social interactions that were running on script. And for a while, this felt like a gift, like finally being able to see the world as it actually was. But then something started to happen. Mira began to feel increasingly alone, increasingly frustrated, increasingly impatient with the people around her who couldn't seem to see what she saw so clearly. She found herself in conversations where she was physically present but internally absent, going through the motions of engagement while internally cataloging the other person's automatic patterns with a kind of cool, clinical detachment. She found herself in relationships where she was more interested in observing the other person's loops than in genuinely meeting them where they were. And one evening, sitting in meditation, she turned her observation inward, really inward. Not the surface inward of watching her thoughts arise and pass. She'd been doing that for years. But the deeper inward of watching her watching, of observing the observer, of turning the same unflinching clarity she applied to the world around her onto the one who was doing the observing. And what she saw stopped her completely, because what she saw was a loop, a sophisticated, well-dressed, spiritually articulate loop, but a loop nonetheless. The loop of the observer who uses observation to maintain distance. The loop of the watcher who watches everything except the watching itself. The loop of the person who has traded one kind of unconsciousness, the unconsciousness of the automated reactor, for another kind, the unconsciousness of the detached observer who has confused distance for clarity. She saw that her watching had become its own kind of automation, that the way she moved through the world, cataloging loops, noting scripts, maintaining the position of the one who sees, had itself become a script. A more refined script, a more conscious-seeming script, but a script. And the moment she saw it, really saw it, without defending against it, without explaining it away, something broke open, not into chaos, into something far more real than what she had been holding together. She saw that genuine observation is not distance. Genuine observation is presence. It is the capacity to be fully here, fully in contact with what is actually happening, including the discomfort, including the messiness, including the moments when you yourself fall into the loop, while maintaining the thread of awareness that can see what's happening without being entirely consumed by it. The witness is not the one who floats above the human experience. The witness is the one who is so fully in the human experience that they can see it clearly from the inside. And Mira understood something that night that changed the quality of her observation entirely. She understood that the loops in others are not obstacles to genuine connection. They are the terrain of genuine connection. Because genuine connection doesn't happen between two people who are both fully awake and fully present. That's rare enough to be almost mythological. Genuine connection happens when one person is present enough to hold space for the moment when the other person briefly steps out of their loop, when the script falters for a second, when something real breaks through the automation. And the person who is genuinely present, genuinely watching, can meet that moment, can recognize it, can respond to it in a way that makes it possible for more of it to happen. That's what Elias did in the elevator. He wasn't trying to wake anyone up. He wasn't trying to break anyone's loop. He was simply present enough to notice the moment when the script could be interrupted, and courageous enough to interrupt it. And in that interruption, something real became possible. And you are here because something in you is ready to be that presence. Not the presence that judges the loops, not the presence that stands apart from the automation with a sense of spiritual superiority, but the presence that is so fully here, so completely watching, that the quality of your attention itself becomes an invitation for something real to emerge in yourself first, and then, by extension, in the field around you. Because here is the thing about consciousness that quantum mechanics confirms and ancient wisdom has always known. Consciousness is not a private phenomenon, it is a field. And the quality of one person's observation, the depth and clarity of one person's witnessing, affects the field. Not by broadcasting anything, not by trying to change anything, simply by being a node of genuine presence in a field that is otherwise running on automation. This is the quantum observer effect at the scale of social reality. Your genuine presence, your actual moment-by-moment watching of your own internal states, your own automatic responses, your own loops, creates a ripple in the collective field. A ripple that makes it slightly more possible for others to step out of their loops. Not because you're doing anything to them, but because genuine presence is contagious in a way that automation is not. Let's go deeper into what this actually means in practice, because this is where it gets precise. Look closer. The autopilot running in the people around you is not running in isolation. It's running in a field, a collective field of shared patterns, shared frequencies, shared loops that reinforce each other and make each other more stable. Social psychologists call this conformity pressure, or social proof, the phenomenon where people unconsciously align their behavior with the behavior of those around them, because the brain reads conformity as safety and deviation as threat. But here is what the conformity research reveals that most people never fully integrate. The pressure to conform, to match the frequency of the collective field, operates below the level of conscious awareness. You don't decide to conform. You are pulled into conformity by a mechanism that runs faster than your conscious mind. The loop reaches out and pulls you in before you've had a chance to notice what's happening. This is why you can walk into a room in a perfectly good mood and walk out feeling inexplicably anxious or depleted. You were pulled into the frequency of the room without noticing the pull. This is why you can have a conversation with someone running a particular emotional loop and find yourself an hour later running the same loop yourself. The automation is contagious. The frequency is transferable. And if you are not watching, if the observer inside you is not actively present, you will absorb the frequencies around you without knowing it. This is not mysticism. This is mirror neurons. This is the documented neurological mechanism by which human beings unconsciously sync their internal states with the people around them. Mirror neurons fire in your brain in response to watching someone else's behavior, firing the same pattern they would fire if you were doing the behavior yourself. You are, at a neurological level, constantly mirroring the people around you, constantly absorbing their patterns, constantly running simulations of their internal states inside your own nervous system. When the people around you are running deep, stable loops, when the automation is running at full strength, your mirror neurons are firing those loops inside you. And if you are not watching, if the observer is not present, those mirrored patterns can take over. You can find yourself in the loop without ever having chosen to enter it. This is why the observer is not a luxury. It is not a spiritual nicety for people who have the privilege of contemplative practice. It is a survival mechanism for navigating a world that is running predominantly on autopilot. The observer is what allows you to notice when you're being pulled into someone else's frequency. What allows you to feel the pull before you're already inside it. What allows you to make a choice, a genuine, conscious choice, about whether to match the frequency or to hold your own. And here's the extraordinary thing about holding your own frequency in the presence of someone else's loop. When you are genuinely present, when the observer inside you is fully awake and watching, you are not just protecting yourself from the contagion of the loop. You are offering an alternative frequency. You are creating a field of genuine presence in which the other person's loop is slightly less stable, slightly less inevitable, slightly more likely to be interrupted by a moment of genuine contact. You are not trying to wake them up. You are not broadcasting anything. You are simply being genuinely present. And genuine presence in a field of automation is the most radical act available. Think about what it means to be genuinely seen by someone, not evaluated, not assessed, not processed through someone else's template, but actually seen, actually met by a consciousness that is fully present and genuinely attending to you. Think about how rare that is. Think about what it does to you when it happens. Think about how it creates, in an instant, the possibility of something real. The possibility of stepping out of your own script, even briefly, because someone else's genuine presence has created a space where the script isn't the only option. That is what you have the capacity to offer, not by trying, not by performing presence, but by actually practicing the observer state with enough consistency and depth that it becomes your default. That the witness inside you is so reliably awake that the quality of your attention itself becomes a gift to everyone you encounter. But let's be honest about what that practice actually requires, because this is where most transmissions about awakening get comfortable and stop short of the truth. The practice of genuine observation, of the kind of unflinching witnessing that actually transforms rather than just observes, is not comfortable. It is not pleasant. It is not the spiritual equivalent of a warm bath. It is the practice of looking at exactly the things you have been most carefully not looking at. The loops in yourself that you have been most elaborate in explaining away. The automatic patterns you have dressed in the most convincing justifications. The scripts you have been running for so long that they feel like your personality rather than your programming. Let me name some of them, not to shame them, to illuminate them. Because what you can see clearly, you can choose, and what you cannot see chooses for you. The loop of proving, the automatic, relentless drive to demonstrate your value, your competence, your worth, not because you genuinely feel it, but because something in you learned very early that your value was conditional, and has been running the proving script ever since. Watch yourself in conversations. Watch how much of what you say is genuinely offered and how much is subtly positioned, how much of your engagement is genuine curiosity, and how much is strategic impression management. Watch the proving loop. It runs faster than you think. The loop of avoiding. The elaborate, sophisticated, endlessly creative ways you have developed to not be fully present with the things that frighten you. The busyness that is actually avoidance. The spiritual practice that is actually dissociation. The analysis that is actually a way of staying in your head so you don't have to feel what's in your body. The helping that is actually a way of not sitting with your own discomfort. Watch the avoiding loop. It is the most disguised of all the scripts because it so often looks like virtue. The loop of waiting. The persistent, low-grade suspension of your actual life pending the arrival of some future condition. Waiting until you feel ready. Waiting until the circumstances are right. Waiting till you've done enough work. Waiting until you understand enough. Waiting until someone gives you permission. Watch the waiting loop. It is the most comfortable of the scripts because it requires nothing of you right now and always promises everything later. The loop of explaining, the constant, exhausting internal monologue that processes every experience through a narrative filter, explaining to yourself why things happened, why people behaved as they did, what it means, what it says about you, what you should do about it. The narrative loop that keeps you permanently one step removed from direct experience, always inside the story about the experience rather than inside the experience itself. Watch the explaining loop. It is the one that makes you feel most intelligent while keeping you most thoroughly in your head. These are not character flaws. They are survival adaptations. Strategies that were developed in response to real circumstances, real pressures, real threats, and that have continued to run long past the point where they serve any useful function. They are the loops inside the loops, the automation beneath the automation, and they are running right now in you. While you read this, the question is not whether they're running, they are. The question is whether you can see them, whether the observer inside you is awake enough to watch them running. Because the moment you can see them, really see them, not with the distant clinical detachment of the spiritual observer, but with the fully present, compassionate, unflinching clarity of the genuine witness, they begin to lose their grip. Not because you've fixed them, not because you've overcome them, but because the loop requires your unconscious participation to maintain its power. The moment the observer is watching, the loop is no longer running in the dark, and what runs in the light cannot maintain the same power it had in the dark. Let's do the second practice, because what we've just named needs to be met with observation, not just understanding. Pause here. This is not a thought exercise. This is an observation. I want you to choose one, just one of the loops I named, the one that landed with the most recognition, the one that made something in you contract slightly or look away or immediately begin constructing an explanation. That one, the one with the most charge around it, bring it to mind. Not the story about it, the actual experience of it, the feeling of being inside it, the texture of the automatic response as it arises, the sensation in your body when the loop activates. Now watch it. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to change it. Don't analyze it. Don't explain it. Just watch it the way you would watch weather. Fully present with it. fully attending to it without any agenda about what it should do next. Notice what happens when you watch it with that quality of attention. Notice whether it changes. Notice whether the charge around it shifts. Notice whether something that felt solid and inevitable starts to feel slightly less fixed, slightly more like a pattern, and slightly less like reality itself. Stay with that for a moment. Don't rush to the next thought. Don't immediately interpret what you're observing. Just watch. What you're experiencing right now, that subtle shift in the quality of the thing you're watching, is the observer effect in action, not metaphorically. Actually, the act of genuine observation is changing what you're observing, not because you're doing anything to it, because you're seeing it clearly. And clarity is the only force that transforms without resistance. This is what it means to be an observer, not a passive bystander, not a detached analyst, but a fully present, fully attending consciousness that brings the light of genuine awareness to what has been running in the dark. And in that light, the pattern cannot maintain the same opacity it had when it was invisible. Open your eyes, come back, and let's go to the deepest layer, because there is something underneath all of this that I haven't named yet. Something that explains not just why the loops run, but why seeing them clearly is the most important thing you can do right now. Not just for yourself, for the field. Look closer. We are living in a moment of extraordinary collective pressure. The pace of information, of change, of demand on human attention and human nervous systems has accelerated to a point that is genuinely unprecedented in recorded history. The sheer volume of stimuli, of decisions, of competing claims on consciousness that the average person navigates in a single day would have been unimaginable to any previous generation. And under that pressure, the brain does what brains do under pressure. It automates more. It routes more through the shortcuts. It runs more on script and less on genuine processing. This is not weakness. This is the brain trying to survive an environment it was not designed for. But the consequence of that mass automation, the consequence of billions of nervous systems collectively retreating into the efficiency protocols of the autopilot, is a collective field that is running at an extraordinarily low frequency of genuine consciousness. A field in which the loops reinforce each other, the scripts amplify each other, and the automation becomes increasingly stable and increasingly difficult to interrupt. And into that field you have been born, or you have arrived, or you have woken up, and you can see it. You can see the loops running. You can feel the hollow quality of the automated interactions. You can sense the contrast between the field as it is and the field as it could be. And something in you, something that recognized this transmission before your mind could catch up, knows that this seeing is not accidental, that you are not seeing the loops so that you can feel superior to them or separate from them. You are seeing the loops because you are meant to be a node of genuine presence in a field that desperately needs it. Not by broadcasting, not by preaching, not by trying to wake anyone up, but by doing the actual work of the observer, by turning the clarity inward, by watching your own loops with the same unflinching precision you apply to the loops in the world around you, by becoming, through genuine practice and genuine commitment, the kind of presence that creates a field of possibility in whatever room you enter. Because here is what the quantum field research suggests about consciousness and collective fields. The quality of consciousness in a field is not simply the average of all the individual consciousnesses in it. It is weighted toward coherence. A single highly coherent consciousness, a single genuinely present observer, can shift the frequency of a field in ways that are disproportionate to their numerical presence. Not by doing anything, by being something. This is what the ancient traditions called the power of the sage in the village, not the sage who lectures or instructs or performs wisdom, but the sage who is so genuinely present, so completely here, that the quality of their attention creates a different kind of space in the collective field. A space where something real becomes more possible for everyone in proximity. You don't have to be a sage. You don't have to have achieved some elevated state of permanent enlightenment. You simply have to be willing to be the observer. To do the work of watching, really watching with precision and honesty and unflinching clarity, both the world around you and the world within you. To hold the thread of awareness through the conversations, through the crowds, through the moments when the loop reaches out to pull you in. To notice when you've been pulled in without self-judgment and to return to the watching. That's it. That is the entire practice. Return to the watching, again and again. Every time you notice you've been absorbed into the loop, return to the watching. Every time you find yourself reacting instead of observing, return to the watching. Every time the script activates and the automatic response fires before you could catch it, return to the watching. Because the observer is not a state you achieve and then maintain permanently. It is a practice, a return, a choosing again and again to be the one who watches rather than the one who is watched. The one who sees rather than the one who is seen by their own automation. And every time you return to the watching, every time you catch the loop and step back into the observer position, you strengthen the neural pathways of genuine presence. You make the observer more available. You make the gap between stimulus and automatic response slightly wider. You make genuine choice slightly more accessible. Not just for yourself, for the field. There is a man named Kyle who understood this in a way that changed how he moved through the world. Kyle had spent years in what he called the performance of consciousness. He had read everything, practiced everything, could speak with precision and eloquence about the observer effect and the quantum field and the nature of the witness. He could teach the concepts with remarkable clarity. But in his daily life, in the grocery store, in traffic, in the difficult conversations with the people closest to him, he was running the same loops as everyone else, just with better vocabulary for explaining why. The turning point came during an ordinary moment that was so small he almost missed it. He was in a conversation with his brother, a conversation that had followed the same groove for years, the same unresolved tension playing out in the same choreography of words. And for a moment, just a moment, he watched himself. He watched the familiar response forming. He watched the old wound activating. He watched the script preparing to fire. And in that watching, he felt something he hadn't expected to feel. Not clarity, not superiority, not the satisfaction of seeing the loop from outside it. He felt compassion. Genuine, unexpected, almost overwhelming compassion for his brother who was also running a loop, for himself who had been running this particular loop for decades, for both of them caught in a groove that neither of them had chosen and neither of them knew how to step out of. And in that compassion, in that quality of seeing that was both clear and tender, something shifted, not dramatically, not with any announcement, but the conversation changed. The groove loosened, Something real broke through. Not because Kael did anything, not because he said the right thing or applied the right technique, but because for one genuine moment the observer was fully present in him, and that presence created a space in which something other than the loop could happen. This is the practice. This is the whole practice. Watch. Return to watching. Watch with clarity and compassion simultaneously. Not the compassion that softens the seeing, but the compassion that makes the seeing bearable. The compassion that allows you to see the loops in others and in yourself without collapsing into judgment or despair. The compassion that says, I see this clearly, and I see it with love. And both things are true at the same time because the observer without compassion becomes the judge. And the judge is just another loop, a more sophisticated one dressed in the language of clarity, but still a loop, still an automatic response, still a script. The loop of the one who sees clearly and uses that seeing to separate rather than to connect. The genuine observer, the witness in the deepest sense of that word, sees clearly and remains in relationship, sees the loop and doesn't disappear into detachment, sees the automation and doesn't stop being moved by the human being inside it, sees the script and keeps looking for the consciousness behind the script that is always still there, waiting for a moment of genuine contact to step forward. This is what you are practicing. This is what this transmission is activating in you. Not a new set of concepts, not a more sophisticated framework for understanding what's wrong with the world, but a genuine capacity for observation, a genuine willingness to watch yourself, your loops, your automatic responses, your moments of falling into the groove, with the same unflinching clarity and the same compassionate presence you would offer to someone you love. Let's do the third practice, the deepest one. Pause here. This is not a thought exercise, this is an observation. I want you to close your eyes and bring your attention to the act of watching itself, not to anything you're watching, to the watching, to the observer, to the one who is reading these words and understanding these concepts and feeling whatever is arising in response to them. Who is that? Who is the one watching? Don't answer with a name. Don't answer with a story. Don't answer with your history or your achievements or your spiritual path or your struggles. Just look. Look at the looker. Turn the observation on itself. Notice that the one who is watching cannot be seen by looking. It can only be recognized. It is the one thing in your experience that is always present, always watching, always here. The unchanging awareness in which all the changing content of your experience arises and passes. The thoughts come and go, the emotions come and go, the loops activate and subside, the scripts run and fall silent. And through all of it, there is this watching, this witnessing, this awareness that is always already here. This is the observer, not the personality, not the ego, not the one who has opinions and preferences and automatic responses, the one who watches all of that, the one who has always been watching, the one who was watching before you learned any of the loops, before you downloaded any of the scripts, before the automation began. Stay with that recognition for a moment. Don't try to hold on to it. Don't try to make it into an experience. Just let it be what it is. The simple, irreducible fact of your own watching. Now notice this. From this position, from the position of the one who watches, the loops are visible, the scripts are visible, the automation is visible, not as threats, not as enemies, not as things to be overcome, as patterns, as movements in the field of your awareness, as weather passing through the space that you are. And in this recognition, something becomes clear that has been obscured by all the effort to fix and improve and overcome and transcend. You are never the loop. You are never the script. You are never the automation. You are always this, the one who watches, the observer, the witness. And the loops were always just patterns passing through the field of your awareness. Patterns that had power only because the observer was sleeping. Patterns that lose their grip the moment the observer wakes up and watches them clearly. You were never the thing you've been trying to fix. You were always the one watching it. Sit with that for a moment. Don't rush past what you just saw. Now open your eyes and come back. Because there's something I want to say directly to you before we close. You have been watching for a long time, longer than you realize. The fact that you recognize the loops, that you felt the hollow quality of the automated interactions, that you sensed the contrast between genuine presence and the autopilot. That recognition didn't begin today. It has been building. Something in you has been waking up to this for a long time, probably longer than you've been willing to acknowledge. And you've been carrying that waking up largely alone, carrying the strange loneliness of being able to see something that the people around you can't see or won't see or aren't yet ready to see. I want to acknowledge that. The loneliness of the one who is watching when everyone else is running the script. The exhaustion of trying to make genuine contact in a field of automation. The frustration of seeing the loops so clearly and not knowing what to do with the seeing. These are real. They are the specific challenges of this particular moment of awakening. And they are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signs that the observer in you has woken up enough to see the field clearly. And now you are learning how to be in the field without being consumed by it. You are not alone in this. There is a field of observers, people who have watched this transmission, who have felt the recognition, who are doing the same work of genuine presence in the same field of automation. And your watching amplifies theirs, and theirs amplifies yours, not through any mystical mechanism, through the simple quantum fact that consciousness is a field, and coherence in one node of the field strengthens coherence in the whole. So here's what I want you to do. In the comments below, drop the one word that describes what you observed during this transmission. Not what you thought, not what you learned, what you observed. The specific thing you saw when you turned the watching inward. One word. Because words matter. Because naming what you've seen is an act of the observer. And because seeing what others have named creates a field of recognition that makes the observation more real for everyone. And if something in this transmission broke something open for you, if something in the watching landed in a way that shifted how you see, share it with someone who you sense is also on the edge of seeing. Not to convince them, not to explain it to them, but to give them the invitation to look. Because sometimes all it takes is someone pointing at the thing you've been almost seeing and saying, "Look there." When you share this with someone who is ready to look, you give them permission to stop avoiding what they've already been sensing. And that act of permission creates a field between you. A shared seeing that is more powerful than either observation alone. What one person almost sees, two people can see clearly together. Now let's close with what's most important. Because everything we've covered today, the neuroscience of the loop, the quantum mechanics of the observer, the Gnostic framework of consciousness, the Hermetic laws of frequency, The Dolores Cannon research on backdrop people, the parables of Elias and Mira and Kael, the 3 practices of genuine observation, all of it points to a single principle that I want to leave you with. Not as a concept, as a practice, as a commitment. What you watch, you change. What you avoid watching controls you. This is the fundamental law of the observer. Not a spiritual belief, not a philosophical position, a quantum mechanical fact. The act of genuine observation, of turning the full light of your awareness toward something, changes what that something does. Possibility collapses into actuality in response to being watched. Patterns that ran in the dark lose their automaticity when brought into the light of genuine attention. Loops that felt inevitable begin to feel optional when the observer is fully present and watching them clearly. And what you avoid watching, what you keep in the peripheral vision of your awareness, almost seeing but never quite looking at directly, that is what controls you. The loops you haven't seen clearly, the scripts you haven't named, the automatic responses you haven't watched arising, the patterns you've been too comfortable or too frightened or too busy to observe directly. Those are the ones that are running your reality. Those are the ones that are making your choices before you've had a chance to make them yourself. The work is simple, not easy, simple. Watch, return to watching. Watch yourself watching. Watch what you've been avoiding watching. Watch the loops in others without losing sight of the loops in yourself. Watch the automation in the world without losing your compassion for the consciousness inside the automation. Watch the field with clarity and with love simultaneously. Not one or the other, but both, always both. Because the observer without love becomes the judge, and the love without observation becomes the enabler. But the observer who loves, the witness who sees clearly and remains in compassionate relationship with what they see, that is the most powerful position available to a human being. Not because it controls anything, because it sees everything. And in the seeing, in the genuine, unflinching, compassionate seeing, reality has no choice but to respond. The quantum field collapses around the quality of your observation. The loops in the people around you are slightly less stable in the presence of your genuine presence. The automation in the collective field is slightly less inevitable when you are genuinely watching. Not because you are special, because the observer effect is real, because consciousness is a field, because what you watch, you change. This is not belief. This is quantum mechanics, and it is ancient wisdom. And it is the thing your own experience has been trying to tell you for a long time. So here is the integration principle. The one practice to carry with you from this transmission into the rest of your day, your week, your life. Every time you notice you've been pulled into a loop, every time you catch yourself reacting instead of watching, running a script instead of genuinely responding, absorbed in the automation instead of present in the moment, don't judge it. Don't add the loop of self-criticism to the loop of the original pattern. Simply notice. Simply say, internally, with the quiet precision of the genuine observer, I see it, and return to the watching. That's the whole practice. I see it, return to the watching, again and again, in the elevator, in the meeting, in the difficult conversation, In the moment of frustration when the person across from you seems to be entirely inside their script, and you can feel the pull of your own script preparing to respond in kind. I see it. Return to the watching. Because every time you return to the watching, you choose the observer over the automation. You choose genuine presence over the loop. You choose the most powerful position available to consciousness in this universe. Not the position of control, not the position of force, not the position of the one who makes things happen, but the position of the one who sees clearly. And in the seeing, in the genuine, unflinching, compassionate seeing, what has been running in the dark comes into the light. And in the light, it transforms. You were never meant to look away. The observer in you has always known this. The loops, the scripts, the automation, they all depended on your not looking. On your staying in the comfortable darkness of not quite seeing. On your keeping the watching just peripheral enough that the patterns could continue to run without interference. But you looked. Today you looked, and the moment you truly see what has been running your reality, it loses its power over you. Not because you fought it, not because you overcame it, because you saw it clearly, without flinching, with the full light of your genuine awareness. The observer is the most powerful position in the universe, and you have always been the observer. You just forgot for a while to watch. Now you see, and what has been seen cannot be unseen. If this transmission is still with you, if something in you is still watching even now, return to it when the noise of the day has settled. When you find yourself reacting instead of observing, come back to this and let the watching reset. The second time through, you will see things you couldn't see the first time. That's not repetition. That's the observer going deeper. If you're still here, if you watch this entire transmission, then something in you is ready for this level of seeing. The fact that you stayed means you're willing to look. That's rare, and it matters. Subscribe and stay in this field of observers because each transmission goes deeper. Each one reveals another layer of what you've been almost seeing, and the collective field of everyone who watches together is stronger than any individual observation. You were never meant to look away. Keep watching.